Sometimes it feels like I am a voice of the future by the way that people's heads start tilting or it's like glazing over or something when I just share my experience of how I experience the present moment, basically. So, in a way, I'm not a voice of the future, but I am a voice of the present moment, the now, because that's the only place I can tune into what is actually here, what is happening, how things are moving. There's just a lot of, I don't know if information is the right word, but there is just something here that is very available to all of us, almost tangible, but not through our five senses, but through the soul sense or the sixth sense, where you just sense things. So, what I have been talking about now for quite a while is very much what I just pick up on or sense or tune into when I just get quiet. And that's, of course, also when I go and just like, okay, is there anything here that wants to be spoken today on my YouTube channel? And sometimes there isn't. Most of the time there is, and it can just be the smallest little thing. Like, for instance, when I was thinking about it, then to do it, it's like, oh, okay, is there something? And then it's like, oh, yeah, now, and then there's these things that are happening in my life that show up. For instance, when I was talking to some friends recently and just shared what my experience is and what I see happening. And for instance, sharing how more of us are getting together, where I have a number of smaller groups going, where we all feel this new energy that is available now. It's not new, but it's available. That's probably a better word. And that we all really feel nourished and inspired and encouraged by just having a space to express it without being judged or cut off or interrupted. But there's simply a space where there is a welcoming of each individual's unique experience, sometimes very unique, sometimes similar as the others, where we can just express it instead of just sitting with it, wondering what it is. Am I making this up? Because the mind is still here, and the mind still wants us to feel safe, because we all know that it has not been safe for most of us to speak our truth, to speak our experience, specifically around people who have a very different experience. So we have learned to just go, let me just be quiet. So when we are in these groups, smaller groups that I like, so we don't get drowned out in the bigness, then there's like, oh, yeah, yeah, so satisfying. And I do believe that probably most of us who are sensing into what's coming really benefit from being in those kind of environments. So what was interesting then recently, I was sharing this with some friends who are not fully aware, but maybe partly aware of what's going on or what they're sensing into, but they may just, when you're at the beginning stages of just sensing this, you don't really know what it is, and it naturally runs through the mind because that's all we've done, right? That's what we've been used to and conditioned and programmed to do. So then it's like it goes through here and then it becomes something that it really isn't. So this is what happened the other day. I started sharing, and then one of them cut me off all the time and then started talking about it from their experience, which is true in their experience, but it had nothing to do with what I was sharing. So I tried just to say it again, but I realized it was like it fell on, what is it, dry, rocky ground or something. I think there's an expression in the Bible. It didn't feel like fully fertile soil, a little bit, a little bit. And this is by no means a criticism. It is just noticing what is happening in the now moment, how many people are waking up to what is happening. And then more and more of us are able to sense into it without having to run it through the mind or let it run through the mind in a safe setting, in a little circle of whatever size, so that it's almost like we have this space to just kind of let it do its thing with us, so it becomes embodied and real, and not just a feeling here we're kind of ignoring or we're trying to figure out what it is, but just the rawness of the experience. And it's like, oh, and just by speaking it, we get clarity because it is received, it is witnessed, and it is welcomed. It is so important, so important. And of course, I want to put in a little plug for my monthly online gathering, the first Tuesday of the month, where we do get online. And it's kind of like sharing some of this. It's also really getting in touch with the deeper longing that we all have, that we are not sure how to express yet. So there's a number of things going on in those gatherings, and I very much encourage you to join. The link will be in the description. And if you feel the need to just see what it's like to have a place where you could just speak it or hear other people speak something similar to your experience, where you'll go like, oh, and when we get those oh or aha or deep breath or something goes click, that's when it kind of embodies itself and becomes much more real for us. And I do believe this is a very, very important phase many of us are going through. And then after these gatherings, in whatever groups we're in, there's a little more solidity in recognizing what is here. And it has always been here and it will always be here, but it is us who are learning to tune in, to tune more out to this, this little machine in the head, and then tune into what is here and not trying to figure it out. That's the other thing. You don't need to go in here and analyze it. If you can stay in that experience, whether it's the longing or what you're sensing, or there's kind of a new energy that you're feeling that wants to express itself, then you can take the time to explore it in silence and in presence. If this, what I'm sharing right now, speaks to you, that means that you are already tuned into it. Maybe you're totally tuned in and you're just like, yep, 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 same experience here. And isn't it nice just to hear somebody speak it out loud? That's what I find anyway. And then there might be some of you who are just like, oh, yeah, yeah, maybe just kind of beginning to get a little bit of that aha. So stay tuned to that and know that this is real. This is so much more real than what the mind is trying to tell us. It's like we start fine-tuning in our own felt sense experience what is here. And as I'm just speaking about it right now, I'm totally sensing that there is I'm not separate from that. I am that. I didn't know that 2 minutes ago. But again, when I start speaking from that space, that energy, the field, heaven, you can call it what you will, then more clarity just shows up. And then I get like, oh, oh yeah, I'm not separate from that. But I had separated myself from that by imagining that I was separate from it. And by going into my mind, which is the place that separation occurs. There is no other place because there is no separation. There is no duality. except when we actually go and accept that as a reality. And there is probably a good reason for that. Maybe the divine wanted an experience of itself as if there is an other. Maybe the divine got lonely. I know that's not true, but there has been something that was longing for a different kind of experience. And in that longing, it created something like we have been experiencing, right? That's the out breath. And now the in breath is happening where there's a longing to come back to this again. And that's what many, many of us are feeling. So instead of trying to share what you're sensing, maybe even before you can verbalize it in a clear way, because when we do that, that's kind of like, throwing the pearls to the swine. And again, I don't mean this as a bad thing, but swine are great. Piggies are great. But if they're not able to receive it, then it might have some kind of an impact on us where we go back, pull it back again. So it's very important that we stay with others who are on that same frequency or bigger frequency, so that you will be witnessed and welcomed and received, celebrated. And then you walk away feeling very different. So if I should call myself, I'm here from the future sharing something, it's like, no, I'm actually here from the present moment, in the present moment, as the present moment, right? Same. I am the present moment. And I'm just sharing from that experience or as that experience. I'm basically sharing myself. But that's not Pernilla. Was Pernilla, she's created in here as if she's separate from this. So this is my invitation constantly to come back here. And it's my own practice, believe me. I have not mastered it, but I am learning to master it more and more as I engage in this. And why do I engage in it? Because I cannot help it. It's this longing for itself that is just growing by the day. And it's like the more I let it have me, the more it can take over my life and show me what life is without that separate sense of self. So that's what I want to invite all of us to start really tuning into that and learn from it, learn from who you already are. Okay, well, I have fun with that.